Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of No Bullshit Talks. I am very pleased to be joined here today with Gagandeep Singh, who is an author, an entrepreneur, but he's also an Indian world record holder, which is pretty impressive. I think to hold a world record at absolutely anything is very, very impressive. So we want to talk about that to start off with, because obviously there's not many people I've spoken to who hold a world record at something. So do you want to tell me about how you got into that Indian Book of World Records and you know what it took to get there?
Thanks, Sabrina. Thanks for having me on the show, first of all. And as you already told, that I'm an India Book of Record holder. I'm also an author. I'm also an entrepreneur. So talking about the record, I made this record in December 2021 last year on my birthday, actually. And it was about the most pull-ups in 12 hours. So basically, I had to do 12 pull-ups for 12 hours. And wherein I did 3,101 pull-ups and actually became the first Indian to achieve this feat. So the record actually took me that long. I would say the process of the record started in 2020 when I was reading a book which was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I'm sure you might have heard about it. Like, I was reading his story, David Goggins, like he was a very strong person. He was a Navy SEAL, ultra marathon runner, ultra distance cyclist. And I heard that, this person has done all these great, extraordinary things in his life. But when I came to learn about his background, like from the very beginning, he was not that strong. He was bullied. I mean, his background was not that strong. His foundation was not that solid. So that gave me the inspiration, like this person, have come back for this strong from that background. So, and he also has this attempted one record of most pull-ups in 24 hours. And I took inspiration from that book and actually set out to make this record.
So you actually read the book and decided you were going to go for this record. You actually decided that that's what you were set out to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I just read the book and I saw that, this person has attempted this record and made this record. And at that point, I wrote this, goal in my list of goals that, someday I'll make this record for 12 hours, if not 24 hours, and someday for 48 hours, someday, definitely.
I mean, I don't know many people who can do that. I can set a goal and just set out to do it. So can you talk me through what you actually did? Like, so you read the book, you decided this was a goal, and then what did you do? What did you need to do to train to get there?
Yeah, I mean, the first step I would say is visualization. And most people actually fail there because, they don't believe in themselves. Whenever they, tell themselves that they're going to do something extraordinary, they talk themselves out of it. Like, they don't believe in the first place that they can do it. So the first step would be to believe that you can do it. Like, I did not even think for a moment that if I can do it or not, because at that moment, and you wouldn't believe this, because I was not able to do even 10 pull-ups in a row. And at that time, I was writing that I will do pull-ups for 12 hours. So it was completely impossible for me at that point, but I did not, let that discourage me to throw away this goal. And I then started to build upon this. And the first thing is your visualization. And second thing is your work ethic. Like, if you believe in something and you put in the work, then it's going to happen. And, I started to train for this record for 8 or 10 months, seriously about it. And I was training for like 2 to 3 hours every single day, doing pull-ups specifically for this record. And that was the thing, that helped me to break this record. First thing is visualization. You have to believe in that you can do it. And second thing is work ethic. And then the third thing was actually during the time of the record, which was mental toughness.
So I feel like a lot of people have goals though, and they do put in the work to do it, and they still can't achieve that. So, there has to be other things stopping people doing it. And I know that, for example, take a classic one in terms of physical stuff, because a mental thing is one thing, and we can come to that in a minute. But when it comes to something physically possible like that, I know that I couldn't get anywhere near that sort of record. And I'm saying that, and you're saying probably maybe I should believe myself and train to do it, and maybe it is possible. But I don't think I wouldn't be able to stand the chance to do that. But lots of people have a sort of goal. Take a typical one is to lose weight, right? Lots of people want to lose weight and want to get back into shape or something or other, whether that's to look better, whether that's to feel stronger, whatever the type of, but that's a typical one, a fitness goal of some kind. Most people have some kind of fitness goal. But most people fail their fitness goals, like very quickly as well. Like, take every gym membership. They do so well in January, in the beginning of the year, because everyone joins the gym and things are going to start working out. And then come February, they just can't be bothered anymore. So why do so many people fail there? And it's not why they don't believe it. A lot of these people believe that they can do it. They just don't want to. So there must be some sort of passion as well. So what's the difference between what you achieved and most of those people who just drop out of a gym after the first month of trying?
Yeah, I would say, like, First of all, it's about consistency. Like most people are not consistent. Like even if you have to, become a world champion, then you have to be better than what you were doing yesterday. So it's like competition with yourself every single day. Like even if you have to be a world champion, let's say somebody comes to you and says to you, I have to be a world champion, and you ask him, okay, in which field do you want to become a world champion? And he says to you that, I want to break the record of Usain Bolt. Okay, so let's say what's the record of Usain Bolt right now? Let's say it's 9.45 seconds, 100 meter, whatever. And what's your record right now? He says that my record is 12 seconds. So tomorrow when you go to the field, will you beat 9.45 or 12? 12, right? 11.99, 11.98, 11.97. If you are better than what you were yesterday, one day you will beat Usain Bolt. So that's how it goes. But most people are not willing to put in that consistency, that kind of consistency. They want.
But will you though? Like, so I can improve my 100-meter record. I'm sure I could. But I'm never going to beat Usain Bolt. And I feel like, how do you know what your limits are? Because I'm pretty sure that 99% of the world generation are not going to beat Usain Bolt. He is an extraordinary force. And, he's beating his own records and maybe he could do, but I think, if you've got 12 seconds, that's pretty slow as well. Like at the moment, 12 seconds, I feel like, to get to them 11.99, fine. You might get to 10, but you're not going to break Usain Bolt's record. So, do you believe that anyone can actually break any record? Is that what you're saying? If they have the right visualization and mental capacity to do it, do you think anyone could do it?
Yeah, I think it's possible if you believe it. Like there was Usain Bolt had not set this record of 9.45 seconds in the very first attempt that he did, right? He trained for it, he practiced for it. Like if you look at the example of Roger Bannister, like people had this mental barrier, like you cannot run a mile in 4 minutes, but he broke that mental barrier because actually he believed that. So it's first of all about believing that you can do it, and like you play chess, and if you look in chess as well, like most of the winners, like the best of the best, have this mindset of like they're not satisfied with the second place. Like even if you look at Magnus Carlsen, like if he gets second place, like he has a miserable face, right? He's not satisfied with the second place. Like he only wants the first place. So that is the kind of mindset of the winners. Like they are not satisfied with anything less than the first position. So
I get that, but I feel like, for example, you said that chess, and obviously that's something I can relate to. Magnus has been the world number one for ages. Like no one's even come close. And actually, he's bored. He wanted to quit because there was rumors of him quitting because it was just too easy for him. That's a little bit different. So him becoming second somewhere is a massive disappointment. So I get that, but it's the other way around. To say like I was to say to me, oh, you've got to become world champion. I'm not going to become anywhere near as good as Magnus. I reckon I would never become as good as Magnus, even if I truly believe I could be. Even if I put in like 100 hours a week preparation, because I just don't have that agility to do that. And I don't love the game as much as he does. He has a true passion for the game that he lives and breathes it. I don't have that. I've got interest in so many other different things, but I feel like you have to be focused on it. I don't believe anyone could do that. Otherwise, then it's not as special that if people do that. I think that, for example, I don't think Usain Bolt's done 9.45, by the way. I'm pretty sure it's still 9.58. I don't think he's smashed that yet. So, 9.58, let's just say, that's pretty fast. I think you've got to have physical agility, mental agility. Obviously, you have to have work ethic, like you said. You have to believe in yourself. All those things are true. But I still think this talent has got to be part of it, or your body type has to be part of it. Like, I think that when it comes to athletic ability, certain people are equipped for certain sports, but not for others. Like, that's why in boxing you have different weight categories, because it's not really fair that, say, one of the skinnier ones will then go face one of the world's heavyweight champions, because it's just not really going to be a fair fight. But, so I think there's definitely some sort of limits to it there. But you're saying that, you think that you could perhaps put mental agility behind anything and set your goal and become world champion?
No, I mean, you're absolutely right about that. Like some people have that natural ability, they have this talent, they are just born with that gift of doing something in a particular area of life. Like everybody can't be LeBron James, everybody can't be Michael Jackson, everybody can't be Usain Bolt. But some people are just born with it. But the thing is, there are many people who are born with that gift, but they're not actually refine that. So nobody comes to know about them, right? So like even if you believe that you have that, like how do you come to know about that? Like, do you have that gift or not? It's when you will come to know about that when you'll actually start to train for it, and you'll have that mentality, right?
How do you get that mentality? How do you get that willingness to get up every morning and train or whatever if you don't really care for it? Like you're saying that maybe you only know if you've got that passion or talent for it, like later on down the line. But you must want it in some ways. Like you read that book, you connected with that book. Something spoke to you that drew you to go for that goal, and you were like, I really want to do this, and you had like the grit and determination and the work ethic and the willpower to do this. Not everyone has that. So, how does someone know the difference between, because you must have attempted something before and failed, right? I'm guessing there's lots of things in life that you've tried to do and you've not succeeded at. What is the difference between, one of those instances and this one? Because I feel like not everyone is going to pick up something and think, right, I read a book, I really want to do that, and I'm going to do it and succeed, because most people aren't going to succeed. So what was the difference between why you think you succeeded at that and maybe failed at something in the past?
I think it's about doing what you love, like you mentioned. Like you have to be completely obsessed about that. Like any great person that you see in any area of life, they're completely obsessed about their craft. Like I don't believe in this like bullshit of people that talk about work-life balance. Like they talk about, you have to have this work-life balance. Like just give me one name of any great person that you remember that had work-life balance in any area of their life, right? Like they had work-life balance after they became great, but before that they did not had any balance. So you have to be completely obsessed with your craft. Like even in business, sports, in any activity, like Kobe talks about it. Like he used to have 3-4 hours of sleep and used to train every waking day. And Elon Musk talks about it, like work hard like every single waking hour of your day. So it's about obsession. It's about completely loving your craft and whatever you're doing. I think it's more about that. I think I will not be able to completely explain it in words, but you'll have to be completely obsessed about it. Like you have to think day and night about it. I think that would be much more appropriate.
I think you mentioning Kobe just like almost brought a tear to my eye. I still can't talk about him. So if you're gonna use basketball analogies, let's use Jordan. Well, you mentioned LeBron. I can't talk about Kobe. It's too sad. Like that was a really it's just I still really sad about it. But yeah, you're right. Like people do, and you said the word obsessed, and people do become obsessed with it, and people say obsession is an unhealthy thing. But like you said, all stars are born from their obsessions, whether it's unhealthy or not. Look at what happened to them. And I also agree with this work-life balance thing. I think it's I have loads of people telling me about it all the time and telling me I work too hard and everything like that. But I don't believe, like I said, people achieve things by just doing the classic, it was my 4-day work weeks, 4-hour work weeks. I don't believe that any of those people do that. Like I find that 4-hour work week book by Tim Ferriss one of the most ironic books, because I read it and I hated it. And I've got a lot of respect for Tim Ferriss. So many people I know, so many other business entrepreneurs read it, and they really they treat it like a Bible. And I get it, but the premise is really good. But he's saying that all you need to do is 4 hours in a week. Get a VA and they'll do everything for you. But that's not true. Tim Ferriss probably has one of the best work ethics I've ever seen. Like he's a serial entrepreneur. He's always working hard. He's churning out so much content all the time. There's no way he only works 4 hours a week. Absolutely not. So I think it's quite ironic when I see that. And you're right. I think that every person that you've seen who has that much success, like they work their butts off to get there. So I think you're completely right about that. It's a good observation. So I want to actually go specifically into that because you obviously did work your butt up to get there, work your arms off, whatever you want to say, because obviously you do pull-ups. But what was kind of, run me through like your daily routine, including like mindset, because obviously, like you said, it's about mindset, you have to get into it. And you mentioned earlier something about, you have to beat yesterday and you're in competition with yourself. I like that. I like the fact that, if you're doing more, so like for example with you, it's an easy measurable thing, because it's like, okay, so I did 1,000 today. Yesterday I did 990. That's progress. What if, and I'm sure the curve was not like that. I'm sure it was it fluctuated. So what if you want 1,000, and then you're on like 1,050, and then you're on 1,100, and then suddenly you went to 950, and then you had a slump, like, because that must have happened at some point. I can't imagine it being such a smooth upwards curve. How did that make you feel, and how did you get over that? Because those are the slumps, I think, where people drop out, like because of my weight loss. As soon as people sort of think, I want to go to the gym, and then they eat a cupcake and it tastes so good, and they forget all those goals or whatever, and then it goes out the window. Like how you must have had some of those days where you didn't beat yesterday's record. How did that work?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about discipline, I would say. Like people talk about a lot of these people talk about all these cliches, like do whatever you love, passion. Everything is all about passion these days. But there are going to be some days when you don't feel like doing what you love. That's simply the truth. Like whatever you love in whatever area of your life, you're not going to wake up every single day and say, hey, I'm excited to do that. No, that's not going to happen. So on those days, you have to remind yourself, that why am I doing this? Like you have to remember your purpose, why you're doing this. And if your purpose, that foundation is actually strong, then then you will find that discipline and that motivation to actually go through that. And it's about I would say it's about choice. Like I was not like my hands were completely tearing apart when I was training for that. Like I was having extremely calluses over my hand, and it was all about that. But I had this discipline and that mental ethic, that work ethic, that I have to do this. And even if I come to the actual attempt that I made, then during the very first hour my stance started to rip apart. So what happened? But I still continued to go on. I had that purpose in mind. But what happened was in the 10th hour, like my wrist was completely snapped. So the very next pull up that I did, uh, I was actually doing it on my one hand. Like the very first pull up I could actually feel that my wrist would just fall off. So at that moment, it was a very crucial moment, because at that moment I had to remind myself that why am I doing this? Because that is the moment when your mind starts telling you the reason that you should quit now. That why do you have to do this? You are living a good life, that you don't have to do all these things. And what do you tell yourself at that moment? That is very crucial. And I told myself at that moment, if I make this record and if I attempt it successfully, then it could be an inspiration to many other people. Because from my childhood, I was not a very strong person. I had to break that stigma of, you cannot do anything related to sports or related to anything physical, because I was not considered strong. I was bullied when I was a child. So I had to break that. Like if I can do it, then everybody else can do it as well. And secondly, it was all about proving those people wrong. Like they had this mindset, they had this belief about me that I cannot do this. So these are all these different mental models that you have to use to motivate yourself. And every single day, like every single day, you have to develop some kind of mental model, right? Because motivation you can only go so far with motivation. It cannot sustain for long. So it's about discipline and work ethic and nothing else.
I'm just horrified at the thought of that. I'm just imagining your hand, like, oh, it's. I don't know how. I would have fallen to the floor. There's no way I would have continued. That's incredible how you can go. You can. And 2 more hours after that. How did you survive 2 more hours? If it happened in the 10th hour, how did you survive another 2 more hours with a broken wrist?
Yeah, I did not actually tell anyone, because if I told anyone, they would not allow me to continue. So I just kept on going.
Oh God! Oh wow! Well, that's incredible. And what you said about inspiring others, there must be so many people out there who are in absolute awe of what you've achieved, because that's like I said, from a physical perspective, that's one thing, and we're going to come to that next. And what you said is interesting about, as a kid you weren't strong, but from a mental perspective, that alone is one of the hardest things. Like you said, that moment there, like you think, why? What's the point? Why? What is the point? Why am I doing this? But the fact that you thought you could inspire other people, and that's incredible. But I also want to bring up, because you said that you wanted to prove other people wrong. I think that is a big driving factor for a lot of people, but so many people always say that you have to do something for yourself first. Like you have to want to do it for yourself, because if you're doing it for other people, that's always the wrong reason. Just on the whole weight loss thing again, like lots of people go, oh, I want to lose weight so that, as a female, lots of people go, oh, I want to lose weight so men find me attractive. That's kind of the typical thing, or I'm trying to impress this boy, or vice versa. Like, and that's what I've heard when I was growing up. But I think that you never really do something unless you really, really want to do it. So, you had a driving factor of other people, you're proving them wrong, but you must deep down inside wanted to do it for your purpose. What was your personal reason that you wanted to achieve that goal?
Like for me, it was all about leaving everything on the table, like Kobe says, like dying empty without leaving everything, without having anything inside me. Like it's about dying empty. Like most people have this greatness within them, but they die without releasing that greatness, without becoming who they were truly born to be. So it's about releasing everything that you were born to be, whether it's in business, sports, everything that you are doing, like doing every bit of, using every single bit of energy. Like it should be completely squeezed out of you, and it should be that. And you talked about, people having this discussion about not having these external motivation about people. Like you cannot use people as your external motivation, but I think it's critical and very important to use them, because you cannot be internally motivated all the time. Like you cannot be thinking about, I'm going to die someday and I have to do this. Like it cannot work all the time. It can work some of the time, but it does not work all the time. And you have to use it as a fuel. Like even if you watch Michael Jordan's documentary The Last Dance, he talks about it all the time. Like there are many moments where he talks about, like, that person said something to him, and I took that personally. So that's the thing. Like you have to use everything as the motivation. Like best of the best, even in chess or any sports, like you consider the best, they always use this thing as the motivation. Like someone tells them that they cannot do it, and they go out and do it in their face.
I agree. I think that I think external factors are really important. I think that so many great people have achieved things because someone told them they couldn't, or someone else told them, that they are not very good, they don't amount to anything, and they try to prove them wrong. And I think that it is a huge motivational factor, which is why I find it interesting that everyone says, oh, no, you should do it yourself. And I do believe that you need to want to do it yourself as well. You need to want it. But I think those are still powerful driving factors. I know that. So I've had so many negative things said to me, and I'm just like, I just want to show them that I want to be like, I want to get there, become the best, and be like, look, proved you wrong, didn't I? And I think it is a very strong factor. But let's go back to what you were saying about, you weren't physically strong as a kid. You might not be considered sporty or whatever. So how does someone who wasn't considered sporty or wasn't considered strong become on to be a world record holder? In a physical activity? That's like not heard of very often. So did anything like happen to you as a kid? Like you said, you were bullied. Did that kind of play in your head while you were trying to train for this and do that? Was that a motivational factor as well?
I mean, as a child, I was not allowed to, take part in any physical or sports activities. Like even the teachers that actually used to tell me that, you cannot do it, so you should not waste your time here. Like you should focus more on the academics and studies. That should be your main focus. And actually, that is, when I wrote it in my book, that it's not what happens to you that matters, but what you do about what happens to you, that is what really matters. Like it's all about your perception, like how you perceive that. Like do you take it as critically negative, or do you actually build upon that? Do you actually use that as a motivation? These people are actually saying these things to me, so one day I'll have to prove them wrong. And I think it's more about self-esteem as well, because most of the people these days have very low self-esteem. Like we are already living in a very feel good idealistic bullshit world, like where everybody wants to feel good about themselves without actually putting in the work. And like even if we take the case of social media, like they want that validation and approval from other people. They don't like, they are not putting in the work, and they still want the validation from other people. Like if you truly believe in something, you will just go for it, right? You'll take advice, you will definitely take advice, but you will surely don't listen to any other person, that whether they say you can do it or not. So I think it's all about that. Like people take this, like sometimes people just want to impress you, so they say, hey, you look nice. So it's like, listen, well, I don't need you to tell me that I look nice. That I know that I look nice. Matter of fact, I tell myself every morning that I look nice. So it needs to be about that. You need to have that self-esteem and a strong belief in yourself.
But what if, it's easy to say that because you sound very confident. Obviously, that's why you achieved so much. But what if people don't have that confidence? What if people are struggling for confidence? It's not as easy just to say, oh, you need to believe in yourself, because people don't, and they've been struggling with it all their life. And say if they hear lots of negative comments about themselves, they believe it, and they have an internal demon that tells them all these bad things. Like how would you help someone who's lacking in self-esteem try to become more confident?
Yeah, I think it's about progressing, because you cannot build self-esteem and self-confidence in just one day. So it's a process. Like there will be demons inside you that that tell you that you're not good enough, they're going to constantly remind you about your previous life, like what kind of a shitty person you used to be. So it's about ignoring that voice and continuing to work on yourself, because confidence is something that you build through progress. Like whatever you achieve, like whenever you achieve something, that actually builds your confidence. So if you are just thinking about that, I can do that, if you believe that I can do it, like that kind of stuff doesn't work. Like I do believe in self-help books, but some of the stuff in that people write in that is just kind of bullshit, right? Because they say that everything's gonna be all right. No, everything is not going to be all right if you're not putting in the work to make it all right. So there's gonna be another day, all these kind of things. Like you have to put in the work, and that actually develops your confidence. Like whatever you do, like in chess, if you have not practiced the openings, if you're not practiced the end game, then you're not going to be confident while playing it. Like you have to build that competence within you. Like if you
Yeah, but I think people also have lots of confidence in themselves and they're not very good at it. So like, there's a difference. People are like wrongly self-confident. And I think that you can be really, really good at what you do, but you still lack self-esteem. Like imposter syndrome is such a big, big, big topic about in business, right? And people could be excelling in every part of their life, but still lack confidence. I still think that it's much more of a deeper thing. And I think that you were saying about the self-validation of social media. I do think it's really toxic, and people put up pictures in order to have random people like them, and the number of likes means how popular they are, and they feel better about it. But I do think external validation is necessary for self-esteem. But I think maybe from people who you actually love and care about and trust, because I'm sure that during your journey, while you were doing this, not everyone alienated you. I'm sure lots of people thought, you're crazy, Gagan, why are you doing this? Why are you spending your time? What's the point of doing this? I'm sure you heard that a lot. But I'm sure there were also a few key people who were like, yeah, man, how's it going? Like, what's the progress looking like? How many are you on now? Yeah, keep going. There must have been people who spurred you on along the way, right? I'm guessing, but I want you to tell me, like, and how did that make you feel? Surely knowing that some people support you helped you boost your confidence that you could do this because you've got other people who believe in you.
Yeah, definitely it helps a lot, but there were not many people who supported that you can do that. So there were very few people. Even if you look at the very high performers like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, they did not have many friends. They had very small circle, but they had many allies where they looked up to, where they took their inspiration from. So I think it's about building that community within yourself. Like what are the kind of people that I need to maintain in my inner circle, and what are the people that I need to just talk about some things, and I can learn from these people. I can took some inspiration from these people, because these people are actually putting in the work, actually doing something in their life, and approaching towards their vision. So you need to have that clear cut mindset and that standard between the people that you're surrounding yourself with, because it's all about like I'm sure you might have heard about that quote, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, right? So that word heart actually means your subconscious mind. So whatever you're surrounding yourself, what are the kind of music that you're listening to, the movies that you're watching, and the kind of people that you're listening to, surrounding yourself with, all those factors actually matter a lot, because that is the sum total of your total being. That is who you become.
I think it's definitely quality over quantity, though. So, for example, like now I have a handful of people who I really, really, really value the opinions of. But if they believe in me, that's all I need to do anything. Like I just need them, the people I really truly care about, who I know who truly care about me. I don't care what other people say, because you're not going to have everyone believing in you. But if you're people who you care about the most, who believe in you, that's enough to keep me going. So I get that not many people did believe that you could do it, but I'm sure that the people who did believe you could do it, in fact, it means probably even more. If 1,000 people and 998 of them were like, you're so stupid, why are you doing this? You're never going to do this. But those 2 people believe that you could out of 1,000 people, then that probably means a lot more to you. And I think that must have helped you to get there. Because I know that that's what would mean to me. And like you said, the Steve Jobs and that, like, they didn't have many people in their inner circle. But I think that's just the case when you get older. I think when you get older, you start to realize who your real friends are, your values change, and I think that's it. Like you stick around people who you've got similar values and aspirations and goals, and like you said, like I don't have that many lofty goals, but I think that you need to be around other people who do, otherwise they don't understand that. So I think that's really important, and I think it's normal to have a few people. But I mean, you mentioned earlier just about self-improvement books, and that's something that I love doing as well. Like I run a book club. I'm very big on self-improvement. I mean, you can probably see side of me, there's loads of books behind me. There's always books around me, and I love books. And I want to hear about which ones helped you, because obviously you read a book that actually made you inspire you to become a world record. So what other books have you read that you love and have inspired you?
Yeah, so the very first book that I read was in 2019, which was As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. It's a very good book, and actually that built the foundation of the belief, the kind of mindset and the belief that I formed, because all that book is about this one line: "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." So like that word hard, I've already told that it's about your subconscious mind. And that was the book that helped me. And then I read The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, that actually helped me to understand more about the concepts, about these. Like I sometimes read about Bible also, because it's a very good book about the mentality and the beliefs, and the stories and the anecdotes that it tells you. It completely resonates even today, like in the situation that we find ourselves trapped in. So those were the two books that actually helped me to build that mindset, to build that mentality. And I actually came to know about this concept of like surrounding yourself with the right kind of people, right? Because that is the kind of that is the most important thing. So I started to surround myself with the right kind of people, and started to read all these books, and that was a turning point for me.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Exactly that. I think so. I think the people you surround yourself with says a lot about who you are. But tell me about your book, because you're an author. So what's your book about, and what inspired you to write it?
Yeah. So the first book I wrote, it was actually in 2020, and I took the inspiration like I was reading a lot of books by that time. So I thought, I'm reading all these books and I'm seeing the changes in my life. So why don't write a book myself? So I started to write my first book in 2020, and it took me about 3 or 4 months to finish it. And my first book is 5 Keys to Living Effectively. It's a self-help book, and it's all about, I would say, it's not much more about self-help, but it's all about the experiences and the things that helped me to become a better person, from being an insecure, introvert person, to a person who could actually go after what he believes in. And that was the book that I first started to write. And then second book, and then I've written 3 novels, and another one is also one self-help book, including a ghost written book which I have written for my client. So that was a novel.
That's pretty impressive that you've been writing so much. So that must be another massive passion of yours, and writing.
Yeah, definitely. Like I have not written one best-selling book yet, but definitely I'm aiming for that.
Okay, so is that your next goal?
Yeah, until I release a bestseller.
That's pretty cool. I love how aspirational you are. It's brilliant. So hang on a minute. So you decided you were going to become a world record holder. You did that, and now you want to become a bestseller. What are your steps that you're going to try and take to get there?
Yeah, definitely. I'm working on the I'm connecting with some of the other authors who are bestsellers already, and I'm learning from the experiences, like how they reach to that level, like what are the things that they actually implemented in their writing that actually helped them to reach out to millions of other readers. And it's all about that stuff, nothing anything special about that. And then I'm also working on one startup as well.
How have you found people's reactions though? Like you said, you've been contacting best-selling authors. Now, these guys don't have a lot of time, especially when they're in writing mode. And I have a lot of friends who are authors, and when they're in writing mode, you can't really disturb them. They don't want to be touched. And also, like these guys are obviously very successful. How have they been? Like, what's their response been like when you've reached out to them and asked them for advice? How have they been? Have you had a lot of rejections, or have they generally been quite friendly? What's their response been like?
Yeah, like sometimes you have to just reach out to people directly, like through email or cold emailing, all that stuff. But some of the people don't, because they are busy and they have their own schedules, so they are not able to pick up with me. But some of them are very actually supportive. They help me to understand the things that they have done to become a bestseller. And they tell me every little secret, every little step, what are the kind of things that you have to do to reach to that next level. They're not talking about the instant results. They're talking about that it's going to take long, but if you persevere for a long time, then you're going to achieve that.
It's so nice to know though that people out there are sort of selfless and are willing to help other people, because like I said, with all this crap that's going on in the world at the moment, it's so easy to think bad things about everyone and that everyone's a bad person. But it's so good to hear that there are some people out there who just want to help others. And I think without these people, the world wouldn't keep going around. I think it's so nice to know that. And I can't wait to keep hearing about, what your progress is like and how close you are to that best-selling list soon, which would be very exciting. But you also do motivational talks and everything like that, which is pretty cool. And it's completely understandable how motivating you are. What I want to understand as well from a cultural perspective, because I do a lot of talk on culture and diversity. It's just something that comes up a lot, I guess, being in the creative industry, and there's not many women of color running an agency as well. So obviously, naturally, this gets spoken about a lot. I want to understand, I guess, you are a world record holder, which is incredible in any sense of the word. But do you feel that a lot of people, because it's like the Indian Book of World Records, that people maybe look down on it a little bit more because it's not, a westernized culture? And how do you feel when you go into talks? But I hope you don't mind me asking this, but I'm curious because, there's a lot of bigotry out there, right? So you go to a motivational speech and they're sort of like, well, you're not this big American who's like talks about all this stuff, and how they come across in a different way. How do people respond to where you're from and your culture? Are they respectful? Like how do they treat you with it?
Yeah, they're respectful, but the thing is, like, they don't sometimes they don't pay much attention because they're like, oh, this is Indian Book of Records, this is not like Guinness World Book of Record, right? So but it also takes that kind of hard work to achieve and to get into the India Book of Records. So it sometimes doesn't feel good, but you have to go through that, like whatever you're delivering your speech. Like, I'm just getting started into this motivational speaking, I'm just getting started into this, and I have to lot to learn to in the speaking industry. Like, I'm not that a good speaker, but I still have to learn a lot of things. So I would say sometimes people don't have that casual attitude, it's just India Book of Records and nothing, not much of a big deal. But still, you have to deliver that speech, and I think I'm doing pretty well in that. Like, I'm still motivating people pretty much, and then I tell them, I tell them that motivation is crap. And even my motivational speaker, like, don't consider me as a motivational speaker who could inspire you for just this little some hours, and then you go back to your normal life. It's not going to happen like that. Like, I tell them the exact steps that they have to be disciplined, they have to be consistent regarding whatever they are doing. So I tell them all those things, and then they start to take me sometimes seriously about that.
But it must be so hard, though. I feel like, as a, that's why everyone wants to tap into the American market, right? It's like one of the most powerful countries in the world. So, like, obviously, they have such a big market for everything, and they seem to produce better results when it comes to stuff like this. So, it must be disheartening when lots of people do naturally just do that. And so, like, oh, it's just this little guy from India. He probably doesn't really know that much, and and disregard you in that way. Does it not hurt? I mean, you seem like such a strong and confident person, so I can imagine you're like, right, screw them, I can get over it. But part of you must kind of feel a bit rejected and feel frustrated, if anything, like that you're trying to reach out, like you reach out to these authors, and if you want to become a bestseller, you're going to need to tap that American market, aren't you? You're going to have to, because that's where all the sales are going to be. So like, how are you going to do that? Like, it must be disheartening. How do you stay so strong?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's disheartening a little bit, but I think I have that kind of perspective to look at it, that I don't have to dwell on this thing. Like, you do anything great, like, people are not going to believe in you at first. You have to make them believe in you by producing the results. That's the, like, people talk about this, that results don't matter. Like, it's the journey that matters. Like, results do matter. Like, that is what we count on. Like, that is what we admire people for, and that is where greatness is counted. Like, results matter, of course. And I think it's that perspective that helps me to not dwell on those things, like, not be frustrated or disregard, being entrapped in that feeling of being disregarded. So I think it's about the perspective. Like, Gary Vee talks about perspective a lot. So it helps that. It helps to learn more about that. Like, that having that perspective is very helpful for that.
I just want to ask one last question. So you've managed to, read a book, set yourself a goal, achieve that goal. And it wasn't a very easy goal either. That's incredible. How has this achievement changed your life?
Like, the record one, it has changed my life. I would say not in a very big way, but like, it's about, I would say, like, I already believed that I would achieve this record. Like, you have to, it comes back to that thing. Like, you have to think like a champion and believe like a champion and act like a champion before you even become a champion. So it's about that. Like, already believe that I'll achieve this thing. Like, I'm also aiming for the world records, and I'm sure that I'm achieve them as well. So it's about believing in yourself, having that mindset that I can do that. And I think it's all about that. Like, I'm not excited about when I made this record. Like, people sometimes get all that excited, hey, I won. Like, it was not about that. Like, they're acting as if they're winning for the first time. It's not like that. Like, you have to have that belief that winning is normal for me. I'm used to winning. So I'm happy, I'm excited about that, but I'm not jumping and shouting because I'm used to winning. So that's that.
So, what have you never thought about becoming maybe like a motivational coach? Because I feel like, like I said, you've got so much strength in you, you've got so much inspiration. Like, you said you wanted to try and inspire others. This is not something that you perhaps want to think about doing?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going into the motivational speaking. Like I'm also, connecting with some keynote speakers who are very good on the Indian level market. And then definitely I will go for the international speakers, which I admire, like John Clark Maxwell, if I happen to meet him in my lifetime, which I admire him. And I've read a lot of his books as well. Like he's a leadership mentor, executive coach, and all those things. He's also a motivational speaker. So I'm definitely thinking of going into this motivational speaking journey as well, being a motivation coach, and speaking to the executives, speaking to the sports athletes, and every other person in any area of their life to achieve them the best that they can to be the great at what they do.
Wow. I think, well, I've definitely been inspired by this chat, and I'm in awe about everything that you achieved and your attitude to it, and the fact that you were able to dedicate that much time and do all that is incredible. I just want to ask again though, so from the moment you decided to set the goal and to the time that it took you to actually achieve that goal, what was that space and time like in between? How long did it take you?
It was quite frustrating actually, because sometimes you are not making that kind of progress that you think that you should do. Like sometimes it was like I'm training very well, and then sometimes the next day I'm not seeing that results. I'm losing on stamina. I'm not having that kind of mentality. But I had the courage to still keep on going instead of those ups and downs, instead of those having those motions. So I would encourage other people to do the same. Like keep going through what you are going through, because like people, if you're going through hell, then don't stop there, because if like what's the point of stopping in hell? Just keep going, and then that's the way you're going to get out of them.
I hope a lot of people have listened to this and got some inspiration in them to go achieve their goals there, whatever that might be. But how can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out and ask you some more questions? What's the best way for people to get in touch?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram. My ID is Mr. Purpose 24, and they can find me on my website. I'm also working on a startup, myvatika.com, myvatika.com, and that's that.
Brilliant. And I'll put everything in the show notes so people can get in touch with you. I'm sure that people will have lots of questions because it's been absolutely fascinating. But I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today. It's been incredible. And I think that I'll definitely be in touch to hear more about your best-selling book that you'll hopefully have very soon. And I want to thank everyone for listening today. And if you've enjoyed the show, then please remember to hit the like button or subscribe button and leave a review. It would be really helpful to us. But otherwise, I will be back next week with another episode of No Bullshit Talks.